Hello, my name is Bubs, I'm an artist, and I like to hear myself talk, and as it turns out, there's a lot of people out there that like to hear me talk as well. The last time I did a Q&A was 7 months ago, when I had less than half the amount of subs that I've got now, which is still insane to me, but quite frankly, a lot of things that are objectively insane have happened, and are continuing to happen every day, so of all the things to be happening, I'll take it. And thank you, by the way. I needed to post something this week, and I'm waffling around between like 5 scripts right now for no good reason. I'm also contemplating switching gears entirely on a few things and starting a few other things, and overall I am not being very responsible with the whole organization and management thing. Maybe that's my project for this week, is just getting a tangible roadmap set up again, because I've been off script for months at this point. I digress, as is my nature as a yapper, but you all want to know more about what's slipping around in my dome, so I'm here to deliver. I couldn't get through all the questions you all asked on the community post that I put up, since there were about 200 responses with a lot of repeats, so I just read a bunch of the top ones as determined by YouTube's sorting by top comments filter until my voice got too tired. This is all going to be quite casual because I didn't write out my answers ahead of time since I thought it would be more fun that way. So please enjoy me rambling about cartoons and video games for however long I cut this down to. 7chaos909 asks, what's your favorite part about creating a character, i.e. designing their looks, writing their backstory, etc.? Definitely designing their looks, but I will say that it's kind of a cheaty answer because I think about all of that other stuff while I'm designing their looks. I like a lot of their backstory to come through in the visual design, so I'm often thinking up a lot about their quirks or their backstory while I'm making their looks. So, if I give a character a scar or a tattoo, I want to think about where did they get that? What point in their life were they at when they got that? What were they thinking when that happened? That sort of thing. It also is the most, immediately rewarding to me. Writing a backstory takes a really long time to, work out, but it can look good really, really fast. So, Doodle Strudel 1991 asks 3 questions, actually. Have any favorite drinks, or a drink I normally drink the most? Unironically, my favorite drink ever is just water. I really like just plain water. I'm very lucky. I live in a place where the water is like straight out of the tap. It's pretty high quality. It's not super metallic tasting. However, if I'm gonna pick something fun, top 3, I love tea. I love tea in most forms, but I especially like just plain old blackberries tea. That's what I grew up drinking, and it's still what I like drinking if I'm gonna go for just plain black tea. And I also really like boba tea. Mountain Dew Voltage, because, sometimes you hate yourself and you want to drown in things that you definitely shouldn't put in your body, but blue tastes really good. And then lemonade, especially raspberry lemonade. Hyperfixations, I have a lot of things that I'm really, really into, for sure. But they come and go. I will say I usually get hyperfixated or really, really attached to, anyway, specific characters from things. Especially if it's a rude, slightly, or very pathetic man. I love my fictional cartoon pathetic loser dudes, especially when they're rude. 2 examples of people that I still have probably an unhealthy obsession with is probably Cedric from Sophia the First, and then Dan from Dan Versus. Favorite music group? I would probably have to go with Mother Mother. I feel like of all of the musical artists that I come back to, or the bands specifically, that I always come back to listening to, it would have to be Mother Mother. I don't think I've heard a song of theirs that I didn't enjoy, so that's probably my favorite. Fangirl Writer asks a few questions. 1, do I enjoy musicals? If so, do you have a favorite? So to answer the first question, do I enjoy musicals? Yes, I very much enjoy musicals. I don't like to pick favorites, generally speaking. The issue with favorites is that I oftentimes like a lot of different things for very, very vastly different reasons, so it's hard for me to quantify and rank how much I actually like that thing, If I had to absolutely pick one favorite, I'm gonna go with a Star Kid musical, and I would probably pick, of their lineup, Nerdy Prudes Must Die. It's free to watch on YouTube now, so I would highly recommend going and watching that. It is technically part of a trilogy, and I do think you get more enjoyment out of watching all of them, you know, in the order that is presented, because there's a lot of like references and stuff that you might not get in Nerdy Prudes Must Die if you hadn't watched The Guy That Didn't Like Musicals, and then also Black Friday. That being said, they're not necessarily like a sequential story, so you're not really going to be confused about the story if you just watch the final one. 2, how similar would you say the IRL version of you looks to your cartoon self? Pretty similar. I did model it after my real life self, after all. There are some things I think that are very different. I hate to break it to you if this is something that you like really, really wanted, but my eyelashes aren't actually that long in real life. I also think that I like to draw myself a lot more angular, at least in the hair and the eyes, than probably I look in real life. Also, the sides of my head that are shaved are usually, I try to keep them relatively close to my head. Sometimes I kind of neglect it for a while. But I usually actually shave it a lot more than I render it, but I just think it looks cooler when it's like a little fluffy like that. I also give myself a lot more defined freckles than I have in real life. I actually used to have like very, very prominent freckles on my face, but I stopped going outside as much. So they've definitely faded a lot. I also try to take like good care of my skin in terms of like sunscreen and stuff when I go outside, so they've definitely faded a lot. I do have still very prominent freckles on my like forearms and my wrists and everything, so it's not a total lie. I just like exaggerating because I think freckles look cool. So 4, have you seen anything by Elmush Terry? She reminds me of you. I have no idea who Elmush Terry is, so probably not. 5, do you collect anything? I used to collect paper clips, but I have not had good access to paper clips in a while. Like, I'm not in a schooling environment where there's paper clips everywhere that people discard and need to be rescued. But I did find some pretty cool paper clips. I had like one that was, it had a frog on it, which was pretty cool. Now I more or less collect plushies. I really like plushies, and it's also, I can justify those purchases in my head because I'm usually buying like makeshift plushies or, other kinds of merch that are like limited run, but they're like specifically going to support some kind of an indie project. And I can be like, well, I'm supporting an indie project, so I can justify spending all this money on this. Xander Moyer 8730 asks, do you like Transformers? If so, who's your favorite? And also, what's your opinion on creepypastas? That is the wrong whose, but I will still answer your question. So I'm such a dick. Okay, I never really got into Transformers, but I think that every time I see Optimus Prime, I think he's pretty cool. So I'll just go ahead and say Optimus Prime. My opinion on creepypastas, I love the concept of them. I oftentimes do not like the execution of them. I think that oftentimes they can be really cheesy and hokey, specifically in the department where I feel like I truly believe that horror is done best when there is some kind of aspect of like, it's grounded in reality and it makes sense to some extent, It's the best horror, in my opinion, is like a subversion of reality, a weird divergence from normalcy. Like, it's the uncanniness, right? And if you are presenting me with an idea that is just so hard to buy into, I'm probably not gonna buy into it, and then the horror factor isn't there, especially when we're talking about written, like, specific, like, you can't jump scare me when I'm reading something, that's not a thing you can do. So I find that oftentimes a lot of unfortunately, some of the most popular creepypastas expected you to buy into things a little too fast and a little too brain-offedly, but there are definitely some great creepypastas out there. Moon Co 10K. That's probably, yeah, sure. Asks who my first OC was, or at least the oldest one that I can remember. And they also say, love your vids. Thank you. That's very nice. Okay. First OC, or at the least the oldest one that I can remember, without a doubt, that title goes to my very, very old Warrior Cats OC Stream Rift. She was part of a made-up clan that I made that wasn't one of the actual 4 from the Warrior Cat series. And she was definitely a Mary Sue, and she was really cool. I love her dearly. I will, if I find a picture of her, I will put it on the screen. Spino GX asks if you had a nickel for every time you played a game and wanted a mommy character from it, Carly. How many nickels would you have? Okay, see, this is a complicated question because I feel like oftentimes the characters that are put into games that I play, where it's, you know, a female or at least feminine presenting character, they're made to cater to straight men, and I am not that. So I'm actually like just kind of uncomfortable by it because it usually just feels like really misogynistic. I think that's why I oftentimes am drawn to the masculine characters, because they tend to be at least less catered to straight guys. So there's that. I don't, you know? So I'd probably have quite a few, but probably not as many as you'd think. Hey, pardon the interruption, but if you've made it this far in the video and you're enjoying it, I'd really appreciate it if you do those engagement things. You know, liking, subscribing, even commenting. Tell me what your favorite things are. Shows, movies, comics, games, food, music. I actually do read those comments, and I've gotten some very interesting recs from it so far. Regardless, all those engagement things are free for you, but help out me and my channel a ton. So, thanks in advance. The disappointment, the disappointment of Earth. Got it. Okay, so the disappointment of Earth asks me, God, maybe I really should look into dyslexia. Anyway, has asked, do you like the DCAU? Yes, I actually do. I am obsessed with the original Teen Titans series. I think that I kind of want to do a video essay specifically about the haunted episode of the show, because it's just so good in a lot of different ways, and I think that that was one of the like most effective horror kinds of things that I've ever been exposed to, and it's not even like the scariest thing in the world. I've also enjoyed some of the Batman series. I haven't explored too much more beyond that, I will be honest, but I have occasionally seen clips and everything, and I'm like, this is pretty cool. Do you remember your Warrior Cats days? If so, what's your favorite character? Yes, I do. I absolutely do. It was actually something that I had a friend, and we bonded over that. We were like weird kids together. I have very good memories of those days. My favorite character was always Blue Star. Favorite fruit? That's a good question. See, we're coming back to the thing where I'm like, I have a lot of favorites. I'm gonna give you an annoying answer. I'm gonna say tomatoes. Tomatoes are my favorite fruit. Tomatoes are so good, and I'm so sad that they're gonna go out of season soon because summer's almost over, but it's fine. The final question, is all art inherently political? Honestly, my answer would be yes, to a certain extent. I think that the extent to which something is political will vary, but the thing about art and even just like literally anything you do is political, and that is a product of a world that treats freedom of expression as a politics issue. I won't get more into that because that's a longer discussion for like that would be its own video. Not a quick little Q&A answer running through thing. But my answer is yes, but obviously it varies depending upon what exactly you're making and what the intentions are. Bix Badir, who is a channel member, shout out, says, got some late but maybe silly questions. 1, do you like / listen to Vocaloid? Not really. There are some Vocaloid songs that I really, really like. And I can't think of them off the top of my head because I'm tired, but maybe I'll put it on the screen if I feel like it. But yeah, I like it okay. 2, if so, what's your favorite vocal? Well, shit. Again, okay, if I think of something later and I like remember something, I'll put it on the screen. But 3, more generic, if you could travel anywhere, where would you go? Very, very, very easy answer there, actually, is I would love to go to Ireland. I am genetically speaking half Irish, on my paternal side. My name is very Irish, and I grew up surrounded by people from there talking about that place, talking about how beautiful it was. And I would love to be there, especially now. My grandmother, who was Irish, like literally from Ireland, not just blood wise, like she passed away. I very much admired her. So now more than ever, I wanna go there, just in a way to connect with her again. That got sad. I'm so sorry. Are you okay with DID/OSDD systems interacting with your content? Okay, I'm gonna very quickly, what is OSDD? Because I know what DID is. Other specified dissociative disorder. Okay. Interacting with your content. Sure, yeah. This channel is a place for you to be yourself and express yourself as long as you're not hurting yourself or others. I don't have a problem with that. I appreciate you asking. That's very sweet and considerate, but yeah, no, I don't have a problem with that. And if somebody else has a problem with that, then they can kick rocks. Lesbian Baguette. Oh my god, it's Lesbian Baguette. I recognize your name because you said that I remembered French. Okay, hell yeah. Okay, Lesbian Baguette asks multiple questions. They don't know if it's allowed, but I can ignore them if it isn't. Well, I'm gonna fucking answer all of them. Yeah. Is my hair dyed IRL? And if yes, does it hurt to dye it? My hair is not dyed in real life. I want to dye it. Because see, I really like the idea of like having like a really deep kind of burgundy or like wine red sort of color for my hair. And I think that I can make that happen without bleach. And that's pretty much the only reason that I haven't dyed my hair yet, is that I have very, very weak, sensitive hair where if like I just start using a different shampoo for an extended period of time, it fucking freaks out. So I've been very afraid of using bleach because I don't want to damage my hair. Do you have any music recommendations? Will Wood. Please listen to Will Wood. Oh my god. His music is genuinely like, it's so freaking weird, and I barely know the lyrics to any of the ones because he says so many things in such a short amount of time, and he loves like being alliterative and rhyming a bunch of stuff in like a really rapid succession, and just like it's so hard to keep up with it. It's very frantic a lot of that time, his music, but it just captures a mood that a lot of other music, I've not really found another musician to perfectly capture that very specific mood. So anything by Will Wood. Two quick recommendations of like some of my personal favorites. I really like I Me Myself, and I also really like The Main Character. Both of those songs, so good. What are your main inspirations for your art style? I have a lot, but just to rattle off a couple, a lot of people have noticed that I have some similarities to Lavender Town. I'm very inspired by her work. I have been as I like grew up as an artist, and especially when I got back into cartooning and specifically making comics, I drew a lot from her art. I wouldn't say that like my other ways of drawing are necessarily as clearly inspired by her, but you know, I would be remiss if I, you know, didn't mention Lavender Town. I'm also very inspired by Invader Zim. I grew up watching that, and that like weird, sharp, angular shit like tickles my brain. For my more like horrific creaturey designs, I do take a lot of inspiration from David Firth, specifically from Salad Fingers stuff. So I don't know if that's all of the main ones, but that's definitely a lot of them. That's definitely quite a few of them. Do I prefer cats or dogs? Dogs. I'm a dog person. Cats are cool, don't get me wrong, but their way of loving is not as compatible with my way of loving than it is with dogs. Yeah, I'm more of a dog person. Did I watch The Owl House? And if yes, who's your favorite character? I did watch The Owl House. If I had to pick an absolute favorite character, though, it would probably be kind of a tie between Hunter and Rain. Both of them I relate to at different levels, and also both of them are just like super cute and adorable, and I love them. Brienne likes to watch content has asked what my favorite type of video to make is. That is a great question, actually. I think that historically I've had the most fun putting together my like reimagining OC videos. Those take me forever to put together, but they've definitely, it's why I'm happy that I have so many old ass characters to pull from, because it means I get to make more of these videos. And I'm still working on the alien one. I honestly might put it on the back burner because I'm having a really hard time getting over a certain block, and I might VR off. And I know you guys technically voted the alien one to be the next one, but I might kind of switch gears because there's another story that I've been thinking about a lot, and I have an idea of how I'd like to kind of work on it and make it better and change it. But yeah. AJ50855, yeah, asks, who's my favorite OC and do I like the Beatles? My favorite OC, I don't like picking favorite children. It's pretty, screwed up. But lately, my favorite character has oddly enough been Andy from Girl and Ghost. I wouldn't say that, like, of all of my characters, if I had the entire roster, he would be my absolute favorite if I were to actually put together a tier list. But right now, he's definitely been getting the lion's share of behind the scenes doodles and character development. Yeah. And do I like the Beatles? Yeah, I like them okay. I don't think I'm not one of those people that thinks like everything that they've made is like the greatest thing to ever exist. I think they have some real garbage music, actually. That being said, yeah, I think as a whole I like them, and they were a talented bunch. Lurd Eldrin Boy YT asks, I've said your name before, and you know what? I've seen your videos before. Or a video. I swear to God I have. Whatever. Anyway, hi. Anyway, they ask, what's your favorite and least favorite part about making an artwork? Favorite part is probably the coloring. Least favorite is the line art. Faceless Figure 7985 has asked, do you read webcomics? And if so, what are your fave webcomics? I can't talk anymore, which is a bummer because I have to keep talking. Yes, I do read webcomics. I don't read them as much as I used to because I've been making them more. And so that's kind of been taking, and then also just this channel and all my other stuff that I keep getting into. So I haven't had as much time to do that as maybe I used to. But some of my favorite webcomics, I loved Unfamiliar by Haley Newsom or Lavender Town. That one was what inspired me to get back into comics, to be completely honest. I also have really enjoyed things by Mars or Marzoid. So Long Exposure, very, very good comic. I'm reading their currently running one called Ride or Die, which I really like. All of those things I think you can get on Tapas, but for my Webtoon people over on Webtoon, I also do read some stuff on Webtoon. I've been really enjoying Paper Teeth by Wolvert. I've also really been enjoying the interpretation of Shadows by Numian. I originally found their stuff through YouTube, which I think a lot of people did, but their actual webcomic has been very, very good so far. So those are some of my favorites. Those are some recommendations. You should go read those if you haven't already, but keep in mind that at the very least, I know for a fact that Ride or Die and Long Exposure both are 18 plus comics, so if you are a child, it is 18 plus. So CM Intronics 101 asks, Who did you look up to while developing an art style? What kind of stuff do you like to watch? Shows, movies, and listen to, podcasts, music, etc. You know what? For the first one, I am just going to just point to my video that I made about that very subject. I talk about that there. You can go and get more insight into me and my art journey a little bit by looking at that video. I'll put an iCard or something, I don't know. There's a lot of people that I looked up to, and I could not possibly explain all of it right now at this moment. So go watch that video if you'd really like to know. As in terms of like what stuff I like to watch and listen to, I just like consuming all types of media all the time. Part of it is because I want to make all types of media all the time. In terms of like watching stuff, I'm much more of a TV show person than I am a movie person. You know, it's just I prefer TV shows. That doesn't mean I don't like movies, but if I were to pick a preference, I would say like definitely shows. And most of my favorite shows are animated. I just think that you can do so much more with animation than you can with live action. Like even the best CGI in the world, I don't think it compares to just committing to a style of animation and have everything be animated. I usually listen to music, but every now and again I'll be in the mood for a podcast. My two go-to podcasts are Distractable and Clear and Vivid with Alan Alda. Those are genuinely my two go-to podcasts. I do also watch / listen to a lot of Smosh Pit, specifically like them reading and reacting to Reddit stories. But I do like actually watch it on YouTube. I guess it's technically still a podcast, but you know, I don't know. Soria Art asks, what is my absolute opinion on AI? Not just AI art, but AI as a whole. Hate it, scared? Are you just kind of apathetic to it? Alright, so AI can do so much fucking good for the world. Truly. We've been actually using AI for a very long time. It is what Google was founded upon. That is how it would sort what popped up at the top. It has always been AI. There's a lot of other things like that where you probably didn't realize that it was technically still AI because it wasn't a buzzword yet. And even newer applications of stuff like auto-generated captions, stuff like that. That's AI. That is amazing. It makes so much more media, so much more accessible. It's also, of course, in medicine, AI is very, very very promising in some certain things. Like in medicine, its ability to like screen mammograms and stuff for cancer, and it's like so much more accurate at detecting cancer than like medical professionals. Like AI is not a bad thing. It is specifically the generative AI that keeps being shoved down our throats. It is bad for the planet. It is bad for you. It is bad for people in the industry whose jobs they are trying to replace with this thing. It is unreliable as a search engine alternative. It will literally lie to you confidently and insist that it cannot be wrong if you try to say, hey, clanker. It obviously, it's not art. The slop that it pumps out, it's straight up not art. It's uncanny, weird regurgitation of a bunch of pixels. It's not actually art. Simply because it is not made by a human, there is absolutely no value that I can derive from it. Art to me is communication, and if there is no intention behind what is happening, there is no communication happening. It is not art by my personal definition. You can disagree with me if you want, but I don't fucking care. And it's not even that AI doesn't have a place in art. It has had a place in art for a really long time. You know, it's been used in animation and stuff to like streamline certain things or automate certain processes that are normally very, very obnoxious and annoying to do and time consuming, so that people are able to instead focus on those little details that a computer can't do for you but are still very, very, very important. AI isn't a problem. It's specifically the usage that it's been having recently. Mostly bad actors that are either trying to put actual creative people who they stole the work of in order to train these things out of a job, or create political propaganda to spread misinformation more effectively, or, you know, even creating explicit images of people that should not have explicit images be made of them, and I'll let you fill in the blanks on what that means. But yeah, I don't hate AI. It's just the specific use case that it's being pushed, like, in the zeitgeist right now. That's fucking bullshit. Pearlykiss509 says, not a super close watcher of your stuff, but with all the things you've done throughout your journey on this channel, which one was the funnest one to work on and why? Probably the redesigning your characters thing. Obviously, that ended up being kind of technical difficulties that I had with all of that, but it was really, really cool to be trusted with your guys' characters, and then get the opportunity to kind of give them new life and give them a new identity and give them some love, because I think, you know, even our oldest art, it still deserves love, because you sat down and you made that. That's awesome, you know? And getting to do that in the way that I did, I think is probably one of the cooler things that I've gotten the opportunity to do so far. So Stolitz Radio Dust 13 asks, my question is, how did you get inspired to create stuff online before you went into creating YouTube videos? Who was your main inspiration over the years of you making art, and how do you want to improve on your art in the future? I think I talked about this a little bit in my first Q&A video, how I got inspired to create stuff online, but I've actually kind of always wanted to be a YouTuber a little bit. So I thought that I would make like a larger form video and see how that worked out, and then it worked out. So now I'm still doing stuff, and I'm just doing stuff that I've kind of always thought would make for a cool video and something that would be fun. Inspiration over the years in making art, again, I'm going to point to that other video that I did where I was literally yapping about exactly that. But how do I want to improve on my art in the future? I want to get better at lineless work and just more like painterly style rendering. It's still a very large area of like, I'm not confident in my abilities there. Other than that, I think I like my art. Obviously I hope that it continues to adapt and change over time, because I think that that's cool. It's cool to be able to look back on things that you did, you know, in years past and go, wow, look at how much things have changed since then. But I think that the only like tangible goal is just, I want to get better at the painterly stuff. I just haven't had the time or the energy to sit down and like work on that. But yeah. The E-Base has asked 3 questions. One, my favorite kind of insect. That's a good question, actually. Luna moths are super sick. I've actually seen one in real life, and it was a terrible experience because I was babysitting children that were like so scared of any bug, and so this gigantic moth flapping on the window of their balcony was a little startling to them. But it's really cool because I got a cool picture of him, and he was a big feller. Out of any art related challenge you did so far, if any, which one did you enjoy the most? I mean, I did have a lot of fun with the recent video that I did where I was just drawing the same thing in like progressively shorter lengths of time. And current thoughts on CRT televisions. For a lot of things, I think that retro stuff is cool, and in some ways it can have kind of a vibe that you can't really get with the modern day television. I do not understand the hype around this particular nostalgic thing. It can give you like mega cancer and explode. They kind of suck. Like, there's a reason that we left them behind. There are lots of things where I'm like, I understand why people are going back to older technology in a lot of ways. I will never understand this one. I don't get it. I do like the actual physical look of them, though. I think that they look pretty cool. Saib M says, what's your favorite animal and why? The last time I was asked this question, I said okapi. I'll go ahead and stick with that answer. Okapi, and why is because they're cool, and you should look them up. They're very interesting little creatures. Number 2, what's my opinion on Minecraft YouTubers? Or Minecraft YouTube in general, I'm assuming. I think they can be very nice and wholesome. I'm not always super invested in what's going on in that, but like there are people like Minecraft YouTubers that I do still watch semi-regularly. It's specifically usually when I'm in a Minecraft playing phase because I want building ideas and everything. But for that, I really like Gemini Tay. I will occasionally still watch her if I'm like sick because she has a very soothing voice. Favorite song, artist / song. I could not possibly pick just one favorite, but I will tell you. So there is a song called Dream Team by Aiden Knight. I found it originally in the Invincible soundtrack. Every time I listen to it, it just like projects me to another realm. I don't know why. There are a couple songs like that where something about them just strikes such a deep chord that my brain just kind of, I don't know. When I'm in my feels, it's a great song. So for opinion on monkeys, I think monkeys are really cool. I like, what are those little monkey, the tamarins, the golden lion tamarins. Look, sorry, I'm looking at a picture of him. He's so cute. His little face. No, monkeys are sick, dude. I love primates. Skelebro2227 asks, what's the origin of my hairstyle? It's very unique. I graduated from my conservative high school and I went through an identity crisis, and I went to the hairdresser and I asked them to shave part of my hair, and they did. And I have never changed my hair since then. I thought about it, but this is what feels the most me. That's the origin. Official Fire YT. Oh, sorry, no. Official Fire YT has asked, was there any specific pieces of media that got you into art? If so, what were they? I don't really know that there were things that got me into art. I just gravitated towards that because it was a hobby that was quiet, and quiet hobbies were the best kinds of hobbies to have in my house growing up, because it meant you weren't making noise, and that was good for staying under the radar. I picked that up randomly. I drew fan art and stuff for a lot of things, but I actually, even from very, very early on, I did a lot of like original characters and stuff. So I don't know that there were any specific pieces of media that really got me into art, but I do remember like the earliest stuff that I was making art for. It was My Little Pony, and it was Warrior Cats. I was making a lot of Warrior Cat stuff. I had a creepypasta phase, and I was doing a lot of YouTuber fan art. I have very old, very cringy, but very sweet, like Markiplier fan art. It's FNAF Markiplier content, fan art specifically. Oh boy, 3am asks, what is a fictional crossover you'd like to see, and what medium would you want it to be in? I think that it would be funny to put, like, Phoenix Wright and Miles Edgeworth, like, literally anywhere. I think that wherever they go, it would be funny. But I think that, imagine if Charlie and Pym were hanging out with Miles and Phoenix, and they had to, like, solve a murder together. And obviously it should be an animated TV show, obviously. And their styles should be all the same. I think that that's one of my favorite parts about Smiling Friends, is that they mix, like, art styles all the time. So I think that Phoenix and Miles should have the same animation and art style. And I think it would be a good time. Do you have any opinions on Deltarune? Not really. I've never played it. I haven't watched anybody play it. Every now and again, I'll see a character design come out of Deltarune stuff that I think is pretty cool. Like, I like the little trash guy with the spam boy, spammy. That's not his name. I choose to believe it's Spammy. And I like the, we talked about the CRT TV guy. That wasn't there. There's a guy with like a CRT TV, or like it's a chonky TV head guy. He looks pretty cool. On that note, Spammy. I hate that that's the only. Spamton! His name is Spamton. Okay, so Spamton and then the TV head guy. I know nothing about them, but I do think they kiss. Or they should kiss. I don't know if they do kiss, but they definitely should be kissing. Unless they're, like, related. They could be related. If they are related, they should not kiss, ever. Don't do that. But if they aren't, I think they're gay for each other. That's my personal take. That's my personal headcanon about Deltarune as a person that knows literally nothing about Deltarune. Oh, I do know the Asgore song. I think that's still Tarun related, maybe. I think. Anyway. Baby Bun N6N asks, what's your favorite indie animated show, or what is one currently being made that you are excited for? The Amazing Digital Circus, without a doubt, has been one of the coolest things that I have ever had the pleasure of sitting down and... Amazing Digital Circus is just kind of, it's everything that I ever wanted in indie animation in terms of humor and subject matter and animation. Like, every part of it is just so good, and it kind of made me rethink the way that I saw a lot of indie projects, because I think that there are some indie projects that got really, really big, but I think now, the world's a little bit bigger in indie animation, and I think we're getting just seeing so much more unique, fun ideas that are really pushing the bounds, and God, I love it so much. I can't wait to see it. Gooseworks I've actually been following for quite a while, and I knew she was going to do a great job with this, but I didn't know it was going to be this good, and I'm impressed every single time. I could go on forever, so I'm going to cut myself off, but definitely that. That being said, there are others that are upcoming that I'm very, very excited for. I'm excited to see where Ramshackle goes. Very excited for that. Very excited for more Gaslight District. I thought that the pilot for that was phenomenal. Very interesting concept, and I love the character design. I love how gritty and nasty and gross it is. We need more gritty and nasty, gross little guys. I'm also very excited for Don't Let Me Be a Magical Girl. Oh my god, I always forget the name of that one, but you know the one. That one. Again, pilot was very fun. I love it. Character design was great. Very, very excited for more. What's Sleeping asks, are you secretly an apple? No, but I will make a note that if it was a secret, that would be what I would say regardless. Nicholas Cartwright 7817 asks, pineapple on pizza? Yes, only sometimes though. I feel like a lot of the time when people say that they don't like pineapple on pizza, it's not actually because pineapple on pizza is like an inherently gross thing. It's because most of the time when people put pineapple on pizza, they just take a giant fucking chunk of pineapple and they smack it on the top of a pizza, and so everything around it gets soggy and gross and the pineapple turns out mushy and weird. But pineapple on pizza can have its place. It just needs to be prepped properly. Smaller pieces of pineapple so that it doesn't become like gushy and gross and weird and nasty. It obviously pairs probably the best with ham, but I've also enjoyed it like with a chicken pizza. I'm just a big pizza person. So pizza can sometimes include pineapple. Mr. Creeper 1695 asks, you like jazz? And then puts a little B, because B movie. I like it okay. That one storage cabinet asks, are you someone who ends up sleeping like 13 hours a day or gets zero sleep? I actually have a pretty normal like routine in terms of like when I get up and when I try to go to bed. Whether or not I will actually get to sleep and then also stay asleep is up in the air, but I do at least like usually stop working and stop doing things at a specific time, or a consistent time rather. Amethyst 786 has a lot of things to ask. Has a lot. When did you start going by any/all pronouns, and what made you want to go by any/all pronouns, and what made you realize that you were non-binary and not all pronouns? First off, going by any/all pronouns, I did that because I am non-binary. Non-binary doesn't just mean they, them pronouns. I think some people do think that, and I don't understand why. Non-binary literally just means you are not adhering to the binary structure of gender. Therefore, by going by any pronouns, that is non-binary. I've started using just they, them pronouns, at least publicly facing recently, because I've just noticed that it makes me feel the most comfortable. I feel like a lot of the time when I leave it up to people, they will pick not they, them pronouns, and I realized over time that actually made me very unhappy. More recently, I've even been trying out like using a different name that is more gender neutral, like in my friend groups and stuff, and that's been actually pretty sick. So it's been more of a recent development that I've been more exploring specifically they, them, and super non-gendered kinds of stuff, because I do still have the understanding with myself that I am more or less apathetic to things, but being specifically seen as not either masculine or feminine makes me the happiest. I'm curious how you found out you were queer, and I hope you have a good day. Also, what sex am I into? Wow, we're getting personal. I mean, I probably always had a somewhat understanding that I was queer to some extent. I always felt different, and it wasn't until I started getting into high school and I learned of like what bisexuality was, and that was when I started to kind of accept that, oh, maybe the way that I think about some girls isn't the way that you think about your friends who are girls. And I think it wasn't until I got to college that I really fully accepted that part of myself. COVID also, that when that hit, I had a lot of time away from very conservative people and a lot of time to myself to just think, and I came to the conclusion that I was bi. And then in college, it really, again, it wasn't until this past year that I really truly thought maybe I'm non-binary. I have always, since I found out you could be non-binary, there was always this part of me that kept coming back to the question of like, is that me? Is that my experience? Does that explain what it is? And I would always be like, nah. Then I was always like, okay, well, if you have to keep asking the question, cis people don't keep asking the question over and over and over and over and over again. They probably don't even ask it once. But yeah, for me, bisexuality just means I am most attracted to people when they are on either side of the gender spectrum towards one of the, polar ends. So masculine-leaning people and feminine-leaning people. This can include non-binary people, obviously. It is also trans-inclusive for me. Yeah, I've been attracted to a whole lot of people. I just wouldn't choose to identify as pansexual because I do think that there are some limits depending upon your gender presentation, whether or not I will find you personally attractive, which doesn't mean that I think that you're, you don't have to be attractive to me to be valid, obviously. But yeah, I think I answered all of the things. But moving on. Spiraling Corridors asks, am I a fan of horror? I kind of am. This is a thing. I generally don't like a lot of horror media, and it is specifically because when I enjoy horror the most, it usually is not the very showy types of horror that will often be presented in video games and movies and even shows. I love the very subtle psychological horror kind of stuff. That's my favorite type of horror. I don't love a bunch of jump scares. I don't love you just grossing me out because you're not scaring me. You're just throwing a bunch of blood and guts at the screen until I go, ew. I like watching a lot of analog horror, actually. I think that it's a very cool genre. So I would say that those are probably like my favorite kinds of things. But I think that the best, most effective horror can, at least the type of horror that I like, can come from short stories, like written short stories. Because you have to be very, very intentional about things like word choice and pacing and everything in a way that you might not have to with visual types of media or audible types of media. Big Man's 5899 is Big Man's. Gaming, or in other words, what games do you like? I like a lot of games. I actually don't stick to really one genre generally. But I like Pokemon. I liked Elden Ring when I played it. I love Cult of the Lamb. I'm super excited that it's gonna get a DLC soon-ish. Hades and Hades 2. They taught me that I actually do kind of like the concept of roguelikes if they're executed well and they have pretty art and a good story. I like the concept of Hollow Knight. I have not been having fun playing it lately. I never really did, but I like Stardew Valley. I've been enjoying Date Everything, obviously. I like Minecraft. I love Terraria. I really like Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and Tears of the Kingdom. I haven't played any other Legend of Zelda games, but I would like to at some point. Yeah, there's other games, but those are the ones that I'm thinking of right now. I will tell you, though, there is one game that is... This is probably the only game that I could call my definitive favorite. It's Outer Wilds. if you respect me at all, you will go play Outer Wilds if you have not played it before. I would also recommend, if you are going to heed my words and go do that, I would highly recommend getting the DLC and having that be part of your first ever experience with it. If you do not want to commit to that extra financial, that is fair. That is totally valid. You don't need the DLC in order to feel how beautiful this fucking game is, so please play Outer Wilds. Please play Outer Wilds. Oh yeah, I also really like Disco Elysium. That was another game that I really, really liked. And it's probably a game that I would take some cues from if I were to ever follow through and learn how to code. Hehe. Musty U asks, favorite Pokemon from each generation. I'm gonna have to... you know what? The things I do for you people. Pokemon... Favorite Pokemon from Gen 1 is Ditto. My favorite from Generation 2 is Heracross. My favorite from Generation 3 is Sableye. My favorite from Generation 4 used to be Piplup, but now it's definitely Luxray. Favorite from Gen 5 is very easy. It's Oshawott. He's my first ever Pokemon. Love that guy to bits. Close second, though, is Scolipede. Favorite from Gen 6, probably Greninja. I think that guy's pretty cool. Favorite from Gen 7? I'll go basic and I'll say Mimikyu. I mean, he's a cute little guy. I'd say Guzzlord because his name is really funny, but that's not true to my soul. Gen 8, my favorite is Corviknight. Gen 9? I don't know. Gen 9 had some stinkers. Yeah, I'll go with Koraidon for Gen 9. He's very weird, but I like him for that. And Gen 10 hasn't come out yet, I think. So, boom. I did it. I did it just for you, Musty U. Salt and Pepper S3L asks, what's your favorite? Well, I do like your PFP where you're just grasping jacks aggressively. My favorite character from the Amazing Digital Circus is actually Kinger, so yeah, I think we're to the end. I have been recording for about 3 hours. Okay, we're going to stop now. Bye. It is once again time to say thank you to my channel members who you can see scrolling by on screen now. They go above and beyond to support me and this channel, which allows me to invest more time and energy into making cool videos like this one. You can also become a channel member if you have an extra $2 lying around every month. You'll get access to a couple perks, including getting your name on this scroll here, getting access to some behind-the-scenes community tab posts, as well as some cute custom emojis. And that's that. I cut out a lot of pointless rambling and breaks to give my dog and rats attention because they were being needy, but I hope you still got to know the person behind the persona a little bit better today. Regardless of if you did or you didn't, hopefully before next week I will have picked something to focus on so I can pick back up with a somewhat consistent upload schedule. Until next time, make sure you're staying hydrated, you take some time for some self-care, and most importantly, remember that you matter. Bye.